About a year ago, I teased something that I, together with the airbrush brand that I've been using for so long, Harder and STEENBECK, have been working on. Together we've been scheming and planning, and finally we made something that's simply put, freaking awesome. And today I want to share that with you, how we came to this airbrush that I have in front of me. And it's more than just the best looking airbrush I've ever seen. You guys, you have no idea how abstract it feels to have your favorite airbrush brand, the one that I've been using for so long, wanting to make an airbrush specifically made for the way that I paint, the way that you paint, the Squid fam, specifically made for miniature painting, and they're finally releasing it. And today, that's what I want to share with you. What's on the airbrush? How awesome is it? How did we get to the point where we are today? So all Harder and STEENBECK airbrushes are ridiculously well made. They're made with the finest precision and all are made in the same machines. So no matter if you get the Evolution, the Infinity or the cheaper Ultra, all of them are gonna be good. And I wanted to combine the best functions, design, performance at a reasonable price that won't break the bank. And thus we made this. Since I really like the Evolution, we use that as our starting point. But instead of using the nickel-plated finish that's on the regular Evolution or the Evolution Silverline, I've managed to convince them to put the chrome finish that's on the more expensive Infinity and the CR+. But one function that the vanilla Evolution don't have is adjustable control at the back. And this is a function that you have on the more expensive Infinity, and we made sure that you can control that on this one as well. The Infinity have a quick memory function, this one does not. But remember, we didn't want to break the bank, so this is the perfect compromise where you just have to turn it instead of use the quick snap. This control is what enables you to limit how far back you can pull the trigger and thus how much paint you will release through the front. And this is perfect if you don't want to overspray or have too much paint through the front of the airbrush and you don't feel really comfortable enough to control that by yourself. And if you've had an airbrush for a bit, you know how easy it is to get spider webbing. And this tiny thing also kind of looks like a squid's head, and that's important for how we decided to do the rest of the design, but we'll talk more about that later in the video. And another thing that I really like from the Infinity CR Plus package is the needle cap. It's part of the secret to the super fine precision of the Infinity, and it makes it super simple to create a backflow on the airbrush, to mix your paints in the pot or to clean it. So that is something that we decided would be standard in this package. We also included two sets of needles in the pack. This one is the 0.4 needle. This is the one that I use for most of my army work, because when it's bigger, it's easier to spray wider and it's also faster. But you also have the 0.2 needle and nozzle included in the package, and that is for all of the fine work when you want to paint something super detailed or you want to have even more control. These two are interchangeable and it's super easy to change them to make the painting experience as good as possible. On top of that, we've replaced this one here. At a first glance, it might look like just an aesthetical change, but it's actually an air pressure valve. And what it does, it helps you control the pressure of the airbrush and the spray directly on the airbrush instead of having to go to your compressor. So not only does it speed up your workflow when you just want to paint something super detailed fast with a lower pressure, but it gives you a full control, so it takes the pressure from 0 to 100. The super cool thing about it is creating texture, because when the pressure is turned down to about 15–30%, you can create these awesome textures that are perfect for creating skin, scales, textures on leather or weathering. And normally the airbrush becomes very sensitive when you have these low pressures. And the pressure that the compressor regulates are just far too imprecise. You need to have the pressure controls really close to the spraying point. And that pressure control you do get with this system, and you can unlock these awesome textures that you just can't do with just a regular compressor. But at the heart of it, what really makes this airbrush unique is its design. We spent so much time testing out different colors to make them the best we can, and the material choices. My God, the material choices. This matte gold is our secret finish. It was developed this year in 2021, and it's a process that's never before been seen on an airbrush. Warwick is the guy who is the lead product developer at Harder and STEENBECK, and he learned about this technique from a high-end musical instrument producer. So we've been able to use use this finish that's normally only seen on like high-end trumpets and things like that on this airbrush. On top of that, we played with the whole idea of squids and Squidmar. And I told you before that the knob here at the back looks like the squid's head. And we've actually made the first ever airbrush with a 360-degree, fully rotational artwork seamlessly laser engraved. And we incorporated the design so that the knob at the back is the squid's head, and we then have the squid kind of spinning around the entire thing. You can see that the tentacles goes all around to the front here, all the way around the airbrush. I just think it looks really amazing. And this, again, just like with the gold, is a completely new technique that's never been used on an airbrush before. So you really get to break grounds on how airbrushes are designed. Box design is by the same artist who made the box for the Squidmar Kolinsky brushes, Joan Beldamondes. Just a fantastic Barcelona designer. I love his work. He just captured everything I wanted with this. There's just so many unique design features. It just makes me so happy that Harder and STEENBECK, they just did whatever I asked them to do and just went one more step. But I've been really busting their dice to make sure that the price don't run away. Because we really packed it with all of the high-end features. You have 2 sets of needles, you have 2 cups, and I haven't even mentioned all of the stuff. Like an example, the needles are sealed with something called a triple stop sear plus sealing, which just makes sure that the seals are able to withstand heavy-duty work. But still, I managed to convince them to keep the price at 200 euros. That's about $225 or 175 pounds. Which quite frankly gives you at least a 20% discount of the entire airbrush. And considering what you're getting on the airbrush, it's a good price. So I'm really happy that you can pick it up for 200 euro. As with all Harder and STEENBECK airbrushes, each airbrush is tested with paint with their skilled staff. And that makes sure that it doesn't just live up to my standards, but to their standard in terms of fine line performance and perfectly circular patterns. They also check stuff like super fine atomization of the pigments and, of course, the perfect trigger response. This package, because of the way how it's produced, is not something that's going to be available all the time. This is a one-off, and they're only going to make it for 2 weeks, so you have 2 weeks to order it. And every single one that's ordered is going to get its order number engraved, so each one of you are going to have a unique number on your airbrush, which I think is kind of cool. So from today and 14 days forwards, that's 11th December, you can follow the link down in the video description to check the airbrush out. If you have any questions, I think Harder and STEENBECK is going to try to answer as many of them as they can in the comment section. They have an email address that you can write if you have any questions, again in the link down below. And in the end, I'm just super happy that the airbrush brand that I've been using wanted to make my dream airbrush. How cool can it get? I'm getting so many dreams come true. Yeah. Again, I'm rambling, but I'm a huge fan of Harder and STEENBECK, and I'm 100% sure that you will be as well, because their quality is just top of the line. So with that said, have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.